So, hey, welcome to the Fitch Production Management Training video. And, Fitch Production Management Training, we have a process that we do the work. And, my friend Walt Stippleworth from Home Tech, he had a great quote, and he said that remodeling represents the inefficiencies of the industry. So remodeling represents the inefficiencies of the industry. We're not home builders. We don't show up and build all the foundation. Wow, all that's done. Okay, now the framing guys come in, or maybe the steel guys come in, they set the steel, and then the framing crew comes in and they build the floor and all the walls, and they frame the roof in and plywood everything. There's all kinds of what the term is scalable. We can say, hey, it should take so many hours to frame that house then, right? It's scalable. Remodeling represents the inefficiencies of the industry. We do a little framing, then we stop, we got to fix this flashing. Oh my gosh, we got to tie in the siding. Oh my gosh, we got to peel back the roof so we can tie in our new roofing, and then ice and water shield that and slip that into. How can you possibly, we represent the inefficiency of the industry. It's like herding squirrels. All these different things, and it can be very difficult to keep a focus on that. So to live with ourselves as production managers and to have clarity, we need a system. If you just had one job at a time to do, and that's funny, one job at a time is an interesting thing to think about, because you don't. You have 8 or 12 jobs at one time to do, and they're based on time. Profit of the job, profit of the company is not based on, hey, this job was 50% gross profit margin. It's 50% gross profit margin based on how many days you took to produce it, for your people to build it. From the time the first check's picked up, the deposit check we call it, to the final check and the review form and all that stuff when we send the cookies, right? All that that's what we call the turn, the ROI, the return on investment. That's how long it takes. And that's how I want you to think. It's about profit margin, but we can make $100,000 in one day, or we can make $100,000 in 2 months. That's not so good, is it? So it's gross profit margin based on the amount of time it takes us, called the turn, the return on investment. That is a very powerful concept. So like anything else, we are based on time. So return on investment. We're looking at this. Remember the three, we're going to get into what we call the 3 triangles of success. It's customer satisfaction. Overall, we want the customer to have a wow experience. And it's about job site safety and all these good things. But the third part of the triangle is what? It's profit. So a friend of mine, Joe Henley from Four Seasons Sunrooms, and builder for his whole life, he said that the construction company, only moves as fast, if it's a train, as the slowest moving car. So what is the slowest moving car usually in that train? It's usually not marketing. We know how to get leads. It's usually not sales. Well, we can hire more salespeople, and salespeople can sell a big job in 2 hours. It's really production. Production's the slowest moving train. And so now in this day and age of 2020, 2019, and looking into the future, we're seeing that the problem is getting the good technicians to actually be able to know what they're doing and produce the job. We don't want our technicians running to the lumber yard, running to the big box store. We want our technicians doing what? We want our technicians putting things together. So when they don't have that widget, that screw, that piece of plywood, that ice and water shield, that special flashing, whatever, it's costing us double the money, right? Because now it's two things. They're not installing the part or the piece, and it's also the lost opportunity. They're at Home Depot looking at drills. That's what I do when I go to Home Depot, don't you? I look at drills. I look at, ooh, I like that one. Ooh, I like that one. Holy crap, an hour and a half just went by. It's lost. It's a lost time. So there's that time word again. We only have so much time. When we sit down to do the estimating and how long it's going to take to put up this sunroom wall or these kitchen cabinets, we're not figuring that the installer, the lead guy, the apprentice, is going to Home Depot to look at drills. That is not in, the homeowner doesn't want to pay for that either. So we are really doing ourselves an injustice by not having a system. We have to have a system. We have to follow it every time because we what? We represent the inefficiencies of the industry. So we have to make a system that works for us for small-term jobs. Small-term jobs typically are 5 days or less, like say replacing a skylight. We can replace a skylight in 6 hours or 4 hours. Replacing windows, we typically can do 4 or 5 or 10 windows in a day. So those are small cycle jobs. Replacing a sliding glass door are typically small, fast cycle projects. So you'll see in our production board, you'll see the fast cycle schedule, and then you'll also see longer term schedule. So today we're going to talk about basically our production process and how we actually do that. So, so what happens when the production map, our system, we're going to talk in detail. I'm going to draw this on the board. So what happens right here when our production process is followed? Well, we have happy customers, right? Typically they see remodeling on their home as kind of a pain in the neck. They don't want a big project. They don't want this project to sprawl to the rest of their house. There's people working in their home. They can't shower when they want to. All these interesting. It's a pain in the neck. So think about it that way. We want to create a good. We want to get in, do our good job, and get out of that house as quickly as possible, and let them know that we're working hard, because they want to enjoy the home improvement, but they want to get out. So what else happens when a production map is followed? We've already talked about it. We make more money. The installers have what they need to get the job done, and so they look better and they have a more enjoyable. They've got that nice sharp 40-tooth carbide tip saw blade, that cuts aluminum no problem. They've got the wax to put on there so it goes through the aluminum like butter. They have the brad nailer to put that special crown trim on, and they have extra brad nails. And we're going to get to it. If those things don't hit a list, they will not show up on the job site. Someone needs to have the vision for success. Who is that person? It's the production manager. Okay. So overall, what happens when the production map is followed? We all win, right? And we're able to have higher job satisfaction, better reviews, make more money, which means more money for everyone, not just me. I get my profit, and that's why we're here. That's another big reason why we're here. A typical business owner typically gets anywhere from 3 to 4%, maybe 5% profit at the end of the job. Everyone thinks it's so much, so big. And a lot of times we're losing that profit because this got forgotten about, or the guys took too long to do the job. Bingo, the first thing that goes is my profit. It just went out the window, no pun intended. Okay, so that's what happens. Good things happen when we follow our production map. Okay, and so we've already talked about how we measure success on the project. We measure success by customer satisfaction, having that wow experience, 5-star reviews, repeat business. All of these things are really, really important. Okay, so let's begin. So just before we get into our Fitch production management system, so you may be an apprentice carpenter, or you may be a pretty good carpenter starting out at Fitch Construction, and you're watching this and you're saying, wow, I don't want to be responsible for all these different things, and I'm just getting this out there, right? If you're in a management or a leadership position, this is how you think. If you're the production manager, this is absolutely how you think. But I want you to know, I think it's good for all of us to hear this, because remember that construction logic we talked about in the previous chapters? Remember that? Oh, we're showing up 10 minutes early with a clean mind. We're ready to get started with the day. What else? We're thinking ahead. Construction logic. Remember? We're getting, oh, I need one more 2x4. I'm going to pick that up on my way home. Or I'm going to pick that up on I'm going to maybe leave the house a little early so I'm on the job site at 10 of 8 and the customer's going to love it and we're going to have that widget that we needed. You know, that's construction logic. Remember construction logic? Remember the other thing? It's amazing it's still in there, right? Because I want you guys to think. We're cleaning up, little cleanups all the way along. So it's easier at the end of the day, right, to make sure that now it's immaculate. Remember the other construction one? We're going back to the job site. We'll put all our tools away. We're going to go back one more time to check. Oh, shoot, there's that $18 crescent wrench I just bought. We forget things. So it's kind of like the Columbo. We're coming back to check one more time. So construction logic is how we think. This is how we do it. And this is why if you're an apprentice, a beginning carpenter, if you are, maybe you're a master kitchen guy, but now you're starting to learn sunrooms, it's a little bit different thing. This is how we think. And if we're all thinking, all the arrows, our direction as a team is going in the same place. So it's important for all of us to know this. It's important for me to teach it. It's important for me to hear myself tell you, because this is how I think, this is how I built the business. This is how the business will continue in the future. Okay. So the Fitch Production Management System is, you know, all the things that have happened to the point where a contract has been written. We've received some kind of monetary deposit from the homeowner. All these things have happened. That contract has come in and the general manager at the company or me has actually reviewed the contract, and we've either accepted it into the business or we've rejected it, saying the salesperson didn't sell it for enough, or there's too many missing voids or ambiguities, or we need further detail before it is actually, the baton is given to production. Okay, so that's actually what happens. So now the production manager is going to go out and he's going to do a technical measure. That's the first part of the system. It's number one, and so now he or she, production manager, is starting to realize they're accepting this job, and so they're going to set this job up for complete success. We're going to remove all the ambiguities, all the voids. He is going to get down to every jot and tittle. That is his job. That's clearly his job. So at a production, or at a tech measure, I have written here on our graphic, the production manager conducts within 7 days of the sole job, and his goal is to, at the job site, start to write down the things that he's going to need to get set up for his team. So let's write this down. That this tech measure is created, if this is day 1, that by day 7 he has the tech measure scheduled. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. My name is Production Manager, and thank you so much for your business. I'm going to send you my contact information. Is there a time that we can set up for me to come out? We'd like to do that technical measure within the next 7 days. A date's established. He's on time. The production manager shows up on time. If the production manager is late, it starts it's often truly what is not said that is the true communication. I don't know where I read that, but it makes so much sense. It's body language. They say that people only listen to about 20% of what you say. You better be listening to more than that. But anyway, it's how we conduct our body language. When we show up late, that is body language. We have to respect our homeowners' time, right? And time, that word keeps coming up, time. So be very present. Be 10 minutes early, production manager. If you set the tech measure up at 2 o'clock, show up at 1:50. 10 of 2. Just show up 10 minutes, it means so much. It says that we're excited. You know, again, that waiter or waitress serving you a meal. Would you like any more coffee while you're waiting for your meal? Or, you know, that whole story we've already shared. It's set up in 7 days. A little side note. In New York State, the right of rescission is you have 3 days. So we like to be calling right away. When they give us that order, we like to call the next day or within 2 days and make that phone call to set up that technical measure. Okay, moving right along. Now we're going to go to the creating the production manager's own home tech. Okay, so Home Tech Advantage is a software that we use here at Fitch Construction. It goes over 25 divisions of work from plans and permits to demo, all the way at the end to painting, flooring, and cleanup. It articulates even time. It will create a chart, a flow chart, if you'll just learn how to use it. Whether the salesperson has created a home tech for you or not, it's the production manager's job to create his own home tech or her own home tech for how the job will go. By doing the site visit, taking more pictures, getting more detail, he or she can actually start to create their own home tech. So creating your own home tech is number 2. This takes time. This technical measure, when we're on the site, I should have mentioned, give yourself an hour and a half. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I'm going to pop off this piece of trim with my pry bar just to see if there's any rot behind the wall. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I want to look at the wire system. I want to look at all of how this home's built. It's a very intimate, it's not just a visual. It's actually, you're going to spend some time in there. Why? Because you're the one that's going to try to determine if there's any possible unforeseens that we didn't see. Oh, the salesperson forgot we got to move the hose bib. Oh, wow, we're getting really close to the distribution box for the septic tank system. Let's get that mapped out. Oh, let me do a dig safe. Let me call 811. Hey, 811, dig safe. We're going to be there on this day. Can you be there and stake that out? Get it staked out. We can do multiple dig safes if we're going to be digging. So there's a lot of things that have to happen to get this job set up. But the standard system, technical measure, scheduled in 7 days, about an hour to hour and a half meeting. Let the homeowner know, listen, I'm going to be snooping around. I'm going to go over some stuff with you. I'm going to read, maybe even read through the proposal so I have a really good understanding of what we're going to be building for you. Okay? All right. So production manager creates his material, his actual home tech. And home tech is a really cool thing. I'm trying to bring home tech up on my screen. And I've gotten to the point where when I use home tech, it gets me thinking even more in detail about the other things that oh my gosh, I better figure something in for this, or I better figure something in for that. Home Tech Advantage, I started using it when it was just in a printed form, and Home Tech is just a wonderful way to try to bring it up for you, and I can hold the screen up, hold my laptop up. It's just a wonderful way to generate the things that you need, that you want to see, and then also it's like a language. If you knew a foreign language, well, you would be able to go into that country and speak. If you knew home tech, you would be able to speak and understand what the salesperson sold. You'd be able to understand how to communicate that to your lead guys. You would be able to understand, and your suppliers would understand you because they just received a material list for this deck that you're going to be producing. So it's just a wonderful way to do that. Okay, so production manager creates his own home tech. That's going to take, say, let's be chubby here. That's going to take an hour and a half. This is going to take an hour and a half on site, in a diner with your laptop, or in a upstairs here at the office. Nothing else. Shut your phone off. Just do that. So, you know, we live in such a connected society that we get thought is interrupted so often. This is not the time to have interrupted thought. Create good muscle memory. You know, what does Tiger Woods do again? Tiger Woods, I'm sure golf club. Tiger Woods, he gets up, he does his little waggle, he goes to the same muscle memory, he looks at his target, he does the waggle, he does it, he gets it set in his mind, maybe takes a practice swing, and then he sets up to the ball, looks at his target one more time, and then he swings and he hits his target. The production manager, in a sense, is doing the same exact thing with this system. So, give yourself a 1.5, hours. Say it's a $30,000 to $40,000 sunroom edition, or an addition. It's going to take you an hour and a half to do that home tech and print the reports out that you need. Okay. We also know, as we get into our material list and our labor installation, which is number 3 and number 4, these two documents, in 32 years of business, are the most important documents that the production manager will create. They're more important than creating gross profit margin or a profit loss statement for the job. They're more important than anything else. Why? Because these two documents set the job. If this is missing information and it's not a thorough and exhaustive material list, then you're already setting the job up to become a point where you're a reactive production manager and you're not in control. Once this document, so hey, I've done this. I'll go out to the job site, I will hand write, I need 24 2x10 12s PT, number 1 grade, and that is for the framing of the deck. Then I need 5 2x12 16 footers, and that's for my rim box, or whatever it is. And I write that down. Okay, now what I want, this is what I want. You don't get to change this. This is what you'll do for success. You take that thorough and exhaustive material list and you give that to the production CSR. Or, if we don't have a production CSR, you sit and you type it out on an Excel document. Why? Because now you've created a document that you can give to our suppliers. They can get you the best price. Or, we don't have that in stock. Or, that window is going to take 8 weeks to get. This happens every time, every year, where things that we just assume will be in stock are not in stock, or there's an extra delivery time. When you create that Excel document, when you take the time to do that, again, if you're giving it to the production CSR, or if you have to do it, or maybe a secretarial type person could type that document up. What else can we do with that document? We can now get that document, that material list, to the WOW foreman or the WOW subcontractor. This is what's coming on your job site. If there's anything not on this list that you expect to see there, you better add it to that list. Think about this. Now the job starts, and we're going to get into that shortly. Now the job begins, and here's your WOW foreman looking at the list that he signed off on, and everything that you said was on that list. You could spend 15 minutes with him or her, that WOW foreman, and say, did you get the 25 2x10 14 PT? Yep, there it is right there. Did you get the 5 2x12 16 footers for your rim box? Yep, they're right there. Do you have the nails, the clips, the conceal lock? Do you have the Cortex screws with the? Yep, they're there, right there. There's everything on that list is on this job site. Do you have any more questions? Nope. You can leave now and know that he or she has everything that they need for success. If you don't have that document, you're going to get a call. Hey, by the way, production manager, yeah, I don't have any 2x12, 16 footage for the double rim box. Now you got to stop what you're doing. Here's that double payment thing going on again. Stop what you're doing so that thing that you're doing doesn't get done, and now you're running. Because no material person is going to say, well, I'm not going to run. I mean, if you call your supplier and say, hey, could you run something out for me? They're like, yeah, it's going to be 4 days before because we're busy. Now you got to stop, and you have to run, and you have to go get it. It's a terrible use of your time. It's because you're not using your mind, your brain, to create clarity and inspect, and that inspection time gets lost. You don't get to go back and inspect the job to see if the guys are doing a good job. You're busy running to Home Depot. So I don't want that. You should almost I should have like an incentive. Like, if you don't ever go to Home Depot for that particular job, I'll give you an extra $100 because you probably just saved me $500. But every time you go to Home Depot, I hope I'm making my point. The material list sets the job up correctly. If there's a problem with you creating a material list, maybe it's a custom door, a quad door, we just had this, then grab the salesperson, sit down and set a time, have a meeting, and figure that thing out until it's done. But don't move on until we actually, in this chart, we call it the master material list and the master labor list. Why? Because we should be mastering it. If we're not mastering that material list, that tells us that we are not a master, and that time will dictate to us what will happen, not us telling time how it will go. So the difference there. Create the master material list. Get every jot and tittle on there. In Home Tech, they work with something that's called assemblies, where you don't have to, for example, we do a lot of skylight replacements. Well, all you got to do is go into Home Tech and just print out the same report every time. All you got to do is change what? The shingle color. That's it. Everything else is listed. The roofing nails, the ice and water shield, the additional flashing that might be needed, the drop cloths to place onto the skylight when you're doing it, the tarp, just in case it starts to rain, the worker can create a tent over where he's working, some extra 2x4s that he can create the tent and the tarp with so he can get the job done. So there's some variables that you have to think about that are starting to boil up here. Weather. Is this an outside job? Are you controlling the work area? Remember we talked, that's what Uncle Bob was saying. We control the work area for success, right? So those things need to be thought about in this list. The weather. Maybe the person's a clean freak, and you have to put into this material list the sticky walk-off mat from the entry of the door or the garage door to get into the house, and then down to the basement if we're doing a basement remodel. Like a little runner, they call it, right? So all those things need to be put on that list. It takes time. You can create systems or assemblies so you're more thorough and more accurate every time. But this only goes to the production manager. The production manager is setting the job up for clarity. Okay. We get into the labor list. It's the same thing. All right. Well, am I gonna need a am I gonna need a special crew to set the granite tops? Okay. So we would say sub, and we're going to use the granite subcontractor. Okay. We're going to write him down there. Okay, so how many hours is it going to be? Hey, I'm going to have a guy there for, say, 25 hours to produce this job. When we have a detailed labor list, what else can we, I love graphs. Most people love graphs and pictorial type things. When we have a material list, we can create what's called a Gantt chart. So we know how long each stage will take. Clarity. I challenge you to do this. Take a skylight job and create a Gantt chart by the hour. A Gantt chart by the hour. So this might be 1 hour is setup. The second hour is demo of the existing skylight, and this is how it will go. And then on hour 5, we're reviewing paperwork with the homeowner, their warranty, and collecting the final check. So that would be kind of a good process for us to do as an example. As a small job, in detail, here's my material list for my skylight replacement job, here's the labor list, here's the Gantt chart or the flow chart. HomeTech does this. HomeTech creates this as long as you put all the information in. It saves you time. It's the language we speak in Fitch production. Okay? HomeTech's very important. Now, HomeTech is not the end-all and be-all. There are some things that are different that we need to be intuitive and see, well, let me add this in, let me add that in. Let me add in some God only knows, some contingencies that, I don't know how long this is going to take us to tie this new sunroom into this other wall. Putting those things into HomeTech gets it out of your mind and onto a document that you can communicate with your installer on. That installer might be in a subcontractor in Buffalo. That lead guy, that installer might be one of our employees that's going to do a job down in Canandaigua. But either way, wherever it is, it's site specific and it takes your attention. Okay. Once these two things are done, so how long is this material list going to take? Okay. Say this material list would take me about 1 hour. We'll use the same orange. So that material list, again, if I'm sitting right down, I come back, I go out, I do my tech measure, I start to create my HomeTech. I might just say, screw it, I'm going to get it done, or I'm going to sleep on it and work on it a little bit tomorrow. Whatever, however you work. This is about an hour and a half. Let someone review it. Let your lead guy, maybe in this time period you're setting up a time when you go out and you do another technical measure with your installer, so he or she starts to get her feet wet with it too. More on that later. And then creating this list, a little bit less. I'd say it's about half an hour. Typically, you're reaching out to that installer or that subcontractor or one of our WOW foremen here at Fitch. Hey, I want to set up a meeting where you come in and we talk about this job at our office, and then maybe we go out and look at the job site. But either way, you're starting to make the calls to get this job set up correctly. Okay. All right. I wrote work order down here because what I don't want to see is I don't want to see copies of our contracts in the hands of an installer. I don't want to see copies of our contracts in the hands of our lead carpenters. Why? The reason why is that some of the stuff that we do here is, how we do it is not, say, proprietary, but it is how we do it. And I wouldn't want that to, get in the hands of someone. What we're doing in the work order is we're turning around and we're copying the text of replace one door with matching trim. We're copying that text and we're putting it into the work order for the subcontractor or the lead guy. So most companies do that. Most companies create a work order so that some subcontractors would say, wow, I better raise my prices. They're getting $50,000 for this job, or they're getting $5,000 for this job. I better raise my prices. So oftentimes, just so we don't get people upset, we'll copy the text of what we're doing, the scope of work, and we'll put that into the document, and that goes to our WOW foreman, or it goes to the lead carpenter or a subcontractor. Okay, so now the production manager has clarity. He understands the job. He's already has maybe his staff or he's already starting to order material or send out that material list to the supplier, sending the material list and labor list requirements to whoever's he's going to have doing the job. Maybe the subcontractors are starting to come into the Fitch office. By the way, this is like 6 or 7 weeks before the job begins, right? Remember we talked about the return on investment from the day we get the deposit check to the day it's complete. The time to do all the hard work is at the beginning, and the production manager's job is not at the end. It's not running to get stuff. All that brain power is used in the beginning, and then we release the marble machine. And we hope that the marbles go all in the correct slot. If we haven't done our job, if we haven't spent the time, those marbles are going to go everywhere. And the homeowner will trip over every one of them and call you every time they trip on a marble. Let's not do that. Let's make sure those marbles go in the slots that we want them to go in. And that means we need to create that master material list and that master labor requirement. Okay, so this is what's called the pre-construction conference. And the pre-construction conference is a time that what we call a pre-construction meeting. You're bringing over your subcontractor who's going to install the deck for you. Or you're bringing over, one of our WOW foremen here that works at the company, and you're showing them the job site. And they're looking at your material list. So at what point is this? This is probably right around, say, day 14, day 15. About 2 weeks into it, we've given the production manager enough time. He's done his homework. He's actually doing the things that he's supposed to be doing. And day 15, right around that time, he's scheduling that time with one of his installers. So at the pre-construction meeting, it's in 2 parts. So we also have, we'll call it Tech Measure 2. And so we've gotten, that's a Roman numeral 2. So the Tech Measure 2, the subcontractor's coming over with the production manager, he's showing him the job. Maybe that's at the point you're getting the price from him or her. Or you're bringing over the WOW foreman to say, hey, Bill, Joe, Mike, you're going to be building this job. Here's the material list. This is how many days you have to do it in. This is the system, sunroom system we're putting in. Here's the special detail here and the special detail here. Do you have any questions? Yeah, how do we do this? What about that hose bib? Who's moving the hose bib? Okay, so all those details. That's a good point. We forgot about that. Let's make a note. Okay, so that's Tech Measure 2. That baton is starting to go to the next person. We're starting to lay that groundwork. When the baton is handed over, the way you look at it, it's like an act of God if someone wants to deviate from that. If someone says, well, I'm going to start the job and then I'm going to walk off the job. We've had that happen recently. We've had some subs, they had to wait for material, they had to do whatever. They need to understand that no matter what, there's going to be hiccups sometimes. Sometimes material doesn't come in when we want. But no matter what, for the best of our ability, we're going to order all the material and it will be there on time. Once they start, they cannot move on to another job. If a subcontractor moves on to another job or walks off our job, or they don't know when they're going to come back to our job, to me that is grounds for dismissal. That is not acceptable. That's happened. We want to reward our installers that do a great job for us. But conversely, a subcontractor that should never be given more than 2 jobs at a time, and we need to follow the amount of time it's going to take them to do it. We need to have that in clarity. We think that because we're subcontracting the job, we don't need to worry about when they're going to do it or how long it's going to take. It's just as important as if we have an employee. Okay? That's very important. So knowing the time, that's probably the most important thing the production manager does, is management of time and having the material list in the job. Okay, so A pre-construction meeting, we did this many years ago, and the pre-construction meeting is a meeting where the salesperson, the lead carpenter, and the production manager and the homeowners have a meeting. They sit around the kitchen table, and typically the lead carpenter, the one who's producing the work, he reads through what's going to be done. So it says right here in the contract or in the work order, we are going to turn around and we are going to demo the existing deck. We will load that into a dumpster. We'll haul away all the waste. We're going to dig 6 posts, 42 inches down, with a sonotube. It's going to be inspected by the town. We're going to fill those up with 2,000 psi concrete, use a J-bolt, galvanized J-bolt, standoff cleat, and we're going to build this thing. Then we're going to frame this 2x8, 16-inch on center, pressure treated, double rim box, etc. You get the idea. Okay. We're reading through, and what it says right here, homeowner will remove all bushes and flowers. Mr. Homeowner, you're going to remove all the bushes and the flowers, right? Okay, so we're starting in a month. You better get going. Okay, we'll have them all out of the way. Okay, great. So it's a time when we can look over everything. Okay, so it says right here that we're going to put up the AZEK Radiance Rail white railing. Whoa, we didn't want white. Well, it says white right here. Well, we wanted earth tone or black. We wanted black railing. Yeah, we changed our mind. We want black railing. Whoa, stop. A $0 change order would be brought out at that point to say, change white railing to black railing. Here's a sign right here. So remember that saying, I don't know if you've heard me say this, the palest ink is better than the sharpest memory. When we create a contract and we deviate from that contract in any way, in color, in quantity, in shape, manufacture, whatever, there should be a $0 change order that's made and that the homeowner signs off on and that we sign off on. That's very important. And that's also part of home improvement law. In our conditions of sale, it says all parties have now reflected their thoughts and ideas are written, indelibleized into this contract. So anytime that there's a deviation, even if it doesn't cost any money, it has to hit a change order. Okay? Very important. So at the pre-construction meeting, who's at it? The salesperson's at it. The production manager's at it. The WOW foreman or lead subcontractor's at it. And the homeowner or homeowners. And we're reading through that. We're giving them a more firm start date. Now it's not going to be early August or early January. It's going to be, we will start on January 15th. Right around that, depending on weather. As long as everything, all your materials, your cabinets come in. We're expecting your cabinets in on January 7th. With the holidays, it might not be that way. So we're giving them a more stringent start date. The actual time that we're on site doing work. Day 1, if you will. Okay, so that's what happens at the pre-construction meeting. We're starting to, the landing gear of the Boeing 747 starting to descend and we're starting to come into land, right? That's about, but once this starts, we can't get done as fast as we want. We have to get time. We're against time. Okay, so and that brings up the next point, and that is what's called the work period. So this is called the work period. All right, so we're actually on site working. So we used to do it. The production manager would pick up timesheets, actual written timesheets, on Tuesdays, and then on Fridays would drop off paychecks on site. We don't do timesheets anymore. We have T-sheets, which is all digital, and but the idea is that the production manager is inspecting what he expects. Production manager typically, about 25% of what he does in a given week is spent on site supervision. Now, the WOW foreman is, remember WOW foreman, hey, Mr. and Miss Homeowner, I want to sit down with one of you each day, and while all my tools are out, I want to make sure we're going over everything so that it's your satisfaction. If there's anything that you don't like or you want me to redo, I'd rather do it while all my tools are out. Okay, so we're going to check with each other every day, and then as the project gets to the end of the project, we'll sit down, we'll go over your paperwork, the warranties, and the final payment. Okay? So those are some basic scripts for WOW foreman. So it's the WOW foreman or the WOW subcontractor that is really the working production manager on site. If there's a problem, and good production management doesn't require the production manager to call the WOW foreman every day, right? There should be communication. The communication should come from the WOW foreman back to the production manager to say, hey boss, things are going well. I just texted you a picture of, we got the wall up and we expect to get the other wall up tomorrow, right? The communication should come, you are the supervisor. Production manager is typically the supervisor. All right. So we want to have that what's called daily check-in. All right. Now, if you're currently not doing, if your lead carpenters, your WOW foreman, your subcontractors, if they're not checking in with you once a day, you need to change that. You need to sit them down. You know, when we hire someone, we say, hey, you know, you're going to have to wash the floors, vacuum the carpet, and clean the toilet. It's easier to say that, do you want the job? Yes, we want the job. You know, but if we ask someone to do that after we hire them, by the way, you got to clean the toilet? No way, I ain't cleaning no toilet. Right? It's much more difficult. So when we have a new carpenter come into the system, it's easier to tell them, you know, this is what you're going to be doing. Will you be able to do that? That's part of the job. Yes, I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to check in with you every day. Okay, so you know, you can text me, you can call me, whatever you'd like, but at some point, you know, I want to call at the end of the day or a text. Things are going well. We're having a problem with moving the hose bib, but we've solved that problem. Here's a picture. Thanks, have a great night. That is what we expect. Okay, that's what's expected. So, production manager, you need to be able to teach that to your folks that are working for you. I will say this too. Sometimes it's helpful to communicate that, hey, I'm the production manager and I'm on my way to your job. I will also say I've learned more by not calling. When you call to say, hey, I'm on my way to come out and look at your job, hey, could you bring me some donuts and any 15 2x4s and whatever? No, you don't call. You learn more by just showing up. So, you know, we inspect what we expect. And when you don't see something that you like, make a note of it. If you're mad, leave the job site. Do not get mad in front of the guys. I have to remind myself to do this here. When I get mad at the office, I leave the building. Because that emotion oftentimes tells your subordinates, well, if the boss gets mad, then I can get mad. And what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So then all of a sudden they start treating the people under them, or the homeowner, worst case scenario, you know, with bad emotion, with anger, with, I don't give a crap where this outlet goes. Where do you want this outlet? And we don't want that. We don't want that. It's a serious thing. So if you're angry, you're upset, just let you guys know, listen, I have to go, I have an emergency, I'll be back. And go, leave. Go, get in your car, get on the expressway, or maybe you pull off and then you let it loose. But yeah, so we're human beings, we have emotion, we have great emotion, we have anger emotion, but you know, getting angry or pissed off in front of your folks is the people that work for you is not a good thing. We have to be firm. We have to let them know what we expect. If we are in a clear state of mind about how the job will go, through body language that will come out to them that this is what the boss expects. We're going to do this. You don't even have to say it. They'll just as I've lowered my voice a little bit, and gotten clear, paused a little bit, you understand the seriousness of not getting angry, of having clarity that they know this is an important job. Okay, so we're talking about the actual work period and doing daily check-ins. Your lead carpenter, your weld foreman, he's doing daily check-ins. Well, they're also doing daily check-ins back to you. It just takes 5 minutes. What else can we say? We used to do something else. I'm going to launch this idea. We used to have a communication center. It kind of goes along the same idea as weld foreman. But we used to have an actual, sometimes the homeowner's working. So we would actually establish a clipboard, which we called the communication center, and it was, hey, we just got all the walls up. Hope you like it. And then the homeowner would write back a little something, smiley face or whatever, or please call me if you have any questions. But it was just another tactile thing, another thing that we can do on a clipboard to say, hey. Things are going well. If you have any questions, please call me. Here's my cell phone. Okay. So in the work period, in this, while the project is going on, we have just things like, being cautious of material staging. Even though they're pressure-treated boards or, say, composite deck boards, we still cover them. We still protect the boxes. Because if you don't use them, then we can return them for credit. So instructing the guys on the job of all the lumber will go here. We will all park in the cul-de-sac so that we don't block the driveway. Going over little logistics like that go a long way. Are very, very important. And you might want to put some caution tape up for restricted areas. This is where her flower bed is. This is, this is where the kids play. We're gonna walk around the house this way. By the way, it might be the longer way, but it's who's all this about? This is all about the customer, giving them a wow experience. So it's reviewing that with the homeowner a little bit. The production manager is the liaison to get things started, and then the baton is handed over to the weld foreman or weld subcontractor. So it's about the homeowner. But getting those logistics, maybe like we're blessed to have these 2 really nice work trailers where we put all the cabinets in, or we put all the sunroom parts in. And so now, where can we park our trailer where it's not in the way of you, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, but the guys can get to that work trailer. We're going to run power out to it. There might be a microwave out. They have their lunch out there, and sometimes, or have a pot of coffee or something like that out in the trailer. But it allows them to have a central point so stuff's not all over. We're not taking over your garage. That's why we have the trailers. So logistics, where to park, where to stage material is a big deal. I was taught that if I'm cutting with a miter box, I have a trash barrel right here. That's a Fitch construction trash barrel. It's not the homeowner's trash barrel, but my waste goes into that. Now I don't even have to bend over to clean up. I mean, it looks cleaner, it looks nicer, and that's where the waste goes. So trash barrels, our own trash bags, our own ladders. We would never use the homeowner's ladders or trash barrels. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. So we're staging the area, we're staging our work area. Maybe we have another set of horses for our aluminum brake, or we have another set of horses for all of the Four Seasons sunroom aluminum boxes. So now I'm not bending over, killing the lawn. Well, I just said 2 things there. I'm not bending over to see if that's in there and killing the grass, the homeowner's grass. The horses are up here. I don't have to bend over. Oh, I can pick. Oh, look. Yep, it's all right there. I can inventory the room. So those are some of the logistics that we're talking about. Okay, so we have a set amount of time. The production manager will say you have from A to Z. This is how many days you have. And we've got a few contingency days in there in case it rains, or you may have to erect a tarp or something like that, or the homeowners going on vacation for a day, and they won't be there, and they don't want us there that day, so we won't be there that day. But A to Z, we know the amount of time, so we know the time we have. And there's that word again, time. Time is of the essence, right, as they say. So we know how that goes. All right, so as we're coming to about this point in the project, maybe the XY part of the project, we say to the homeowner, hey, I'm going to be done. I'm going to be done this Friday with your project. And I'm hoping that we can actually, now who's saying this? The WOW foreman is actually bringing up the pre-completion meeting. All right, so that's the pre-completion meeting. And we talk about the word punch list. This is the word punch list. Now, if we've been checking in with the homeowner every day, and just try it. Try doing this every day. The homeowner will be like, for the love of God, everything is great. Leave me alone. We'd rather have that than the other way. Holy crapola, we've got 5 days of punch list stuff, and the place is a mess. We don't want that. Okay, so I think I've made my point, is that the pre-completion meeting should only take a half an hour, 45 minutes. All right? So it's something that, it would be great to have the salesperson starting to arrive. The salesperson can kind of come back in at about this point and, start to maybe take a few pictures. Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, how's it going? Here's that, thank you so much for your business. Here's my card, don't keep me a secret. Here's a bottle of champagne. Okay? But about the salesperson should enter back in just to say thank you for this. So make sure that the job sign is there, or the salesperson does a little walk around. That's more marketing. All right. So the pre-completion meeting is established. We go through that. It's not a bad idea for the production manager to sit in on that. However, it's not required, because we want to make sure that our lead guys know, they know that they're conducting this meeting. So we're going to say, by the WOW foreman. That doesn't mean that the production manager gets to forget about it, because that means as we come into this point right here, that means the production manager is saying, oh, okay, sounds like we'll have our production CSR just call and establish a meeting with the homeowner and the WOW foreman or WOW subcontractor on that date. So I guess my point is the production manager knows that it's happening on such and such a date. Okay? And then finally, the big star is the completion of the project. That's our goal, is to get to that point, and we have the overall success is we have really happy customers, right? We have that's a smiley face. The guy's not losing his teeth. We have a really happy customer, and we're able to get our stuff out of that. So the breakdown of the project, maybe it takes us 3 or 4 hours for 2 guys to break the project down, get the horses loaded back in, rake the yard, wipe the cabinets down, vacuum out the cabinets. All those things are done, right? So we put money into every project for cleaning. So, but the project is now complete. It's marked in time. That date, right, is actually starting their warranty. At Fitch Construction, most of our projects have a 5-year warranty. So it starts on that date. Of course, we're asking for reviews and all that other stuff. That's coming into the process. So that is our production process. I'm just going to end this chapter briefly talking about our production notebook. So you see that in our graphic, I don't know if you can see that, but our graphic is right here where my finger is. That's the production notebook, and then this is the production process. We're following these things. And there's many things that are done once we complete, accounting's doing a profit loss. The lead guy on the job is calling a couple days in advance for any materials that need to get returned. Hey, B&L, yeah, we've got 4 bundles of shingles here that are going back. Okay, great. And by the way, we want to be out of here in 2 days, so yep, we'll be right over. We'll pick them up. Great. So those things don't need to have the extra labor of coming back to the workshop and then getting called. The lead carpenter, the wow foreman is like, let's get this stuff out of here. We don't need it anymore. Let's call for return. And they're calling for return. The lead carpenter in this process is calling for the inspections. If it's a footing inspection or a framing inspection, that's part of their job too. So calling for inspections is a process. The production manager is communicating with the wow foreman to say, did you call for your footing inspection? Did you call for your etc. And all that stuff should be in the work order, which was on the talked about previously. So once the job is complete, we get a signed completion. Signed completion form is very, very important. Some kind of review form is filled out. We usually have a review form. Accounting is doing a QuickBooks break-even report. And then we start them in our customer rewards program. Salesperson is going out with some flowers or a bottle of champagne or something like that. Okay, so I want to talk about our production book. So our production book is something also that we put together, and this is where the written things go. And you'll see I've created an index here where the contract or agreement goes, the project breakdown, drawings and pictures, management notes, any invoices and that are received would go back in here, okay? And then any building permit related stuff goes in there. So the first page in this is what the salesperson fills out, and the salesperson has a checklist of things that he does or she does that she sold that are required to put in. Is the signed contract in here in this book? Yes, I did that. Is there a copy of the deposit check in here? Yes, I did that. That's in the book too. Is the original lead issued? So all these things are put in here and they're checked through it, and that's really important. Okay, so that's the first page. And it's always the first page that's in here. We don't deviate from this. So if it's a management note, please don't put it in the contract section. If this is clear and understanding, then anyone in the office can pick this book up and in less than 5 minutes get their answer and move on. That's really, really important. So here's the original lead issued. That document goes in here. Then we have a green tab. They're bigger tabs and they're taller tabs. I'm being really picky here because that's the way I want it. I want to be able to see a big green tab. They're right there. We have extra ones here. And they go into this. And then there's a copy of the contract. And so the only contract we need in here is the signed one. If you have other contracts, get rid of them. We don't need them. Unless they're relevant. If you think they're relevant, then they need to go in here. A good contract it articulates everything. Again, we reflect the inefficiencies of the industry, the remodeling industry. So sometimes things get lost in here, or there needs to be more $0 change orders that are created just so that we have perfect clarity with the homeowner. So there's our contract. There always should be a conditions of sale part of that contract. That's important, very, very important. It's actually, if there's not a conditions of sale on this contract, it needs to go back to the homeowner for them to sign. So now, the next part of this is a red tab, which is the project breakdown. And it's always a red tab, and again here it's a longer tab, and it's red, And so that goes in here. And so you would see in this section all of the, if it's Four Seasons Sunrooms, you would see a job estimator breakdown. If it's home tech, if this, say it's a kitchen designer, they just sold a kitchen remodel or bath remodel, then you would see a detailed report for home tech showing the material cost, the labor cost, the total cost, and then the marked up sales cost. So again, home tech is a language that sales can speak. Home tech is a language that our suppliers can speak. Home tech is a language that our production management system can speak to. And then, of course, it's also a language that our WOW foreman can go. Okay, so the next section is always a blue section. It's always about this big, and any kind of drawing would be in here. So this just happens to be a sunroom, and it's you know, I've kind of colored in some stuff just for a few things, but any kind of drawing or notes would be, hey, we're going to demo this, and this is going to be the new deck section. And just so that there's perfect clarity from sales to production, you know, that's what we really want. So any drawings would go right in here into this, or any sketches that, like oftentimes our salespeople will start out by doing a sketch, a piece of graph paper. You know, all those notes would go in here. The salesperson's dumping their brain into this book, and then, you know, that would kind of, any kind of, you know, elevation drawings or whatever we can do just so that we're building exactly what the homeowner wants. As well is there's pictures of the house too. So oftentimes when it's, you know, the salesperson sells a job, they're putting in all different angle pictures of the house, and that really helps production on. Lately I've been getting in the habit of actually doing a Google picture of the house as it orients to the street, so that when the production team shows up, they know where on the house the improvement's going. So anything that we can do there. The production manager would put any of his or her pictures into this as well. Okay, now we get into management notes. Now in here is, we happen to have a subcontractor agreement, or the production manager at his when he went out to do the tech measure, any of his ideas or notes would be in this as well. So this just happens to be a subcontractor agreement. It's a 2-page agreement, and you know, we would want the signed one in here. Little note, you know, documents that don't apply, or graph drawings or CAD drawings that don't apply, or it's a different design, get them out. Get them out of this document. This is for clarity. This is to keep the job focused and clear, so we understand what we're doing. So any related notes, you know, maybe a material takeoff initial thing. Okay, that handwritten material takeoff that the production manager does, that gets replaced by the typed list. That's where you would find this. Hey, here's a document on the pre-completion punch list. Or the pre-construction conference, you know, all the things that the production manager would want to do before the job starts. Or maybe he would do that at his second technical meeting with his installer. And then as well, in here we have a copy of, we've actually since updated this, but this is, excuse me, this is actually our pre-completion punch list checkoff thing that the homeowner signs. And then they get a copy of it, and then we get a copy of it. And we go through all the little, you know, is all the finished flooring to your satisfaction, and is all the electrical that we promised to install, everything's working, and that's all installed. Beautiful. Okay, so we check off all those things, and you're the customer, are you happy? Yes. So you can sign right here, date it, and the final amount that's owed is this. And so we'll pick that up in 2 days. So that's a document that we can preload into this notebook. And there's a lot of great aids. Site survey checklist. Maybe you do this on your home, or you do this on your first technical inspection. You bring this with you, and you can go through all the different items to make sure that you're being thorough, and you go from there. So, what is this? This is a material list that I created on a job. It's just an example material list, master material list. That goes into this section too. Okay. So, just to go back to that material list again, it's not only what it's for, a description of what it is, you might even want to put it in the amount. This is all over the place. An Excel sheet would be the way to go for that. Okay? So that's how that works. I'm just kind of curious to see. That's our little subcontractor agreement. So there's a lot of meat and potatoes. Here's our purchase order or our work order that we would give to the lead carpenter. So we're not giving them the contract, right? So this is what they're doing. This is how long they have to do it in. And here's another work order someone else put in, for what they're doing. So all kinds of great, helpful documents that we have, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And then on this section back here is just where receipts or invoices would go, the actual receipt or invoice. Of course, we want to make sure that the production CSR or the production manager is reading over the invoice to make sure that what was ordered was delivered and that it was not damaged. Any returns would go in here too. So that is our little process, by the way. The receipt comes in, production manager checks it off, yes, it's accurate, then we enter it into QuickBooks to be paid. And then of course the last section would be any kind of building permit. The tape location map or survey map would go into this section. The building permit application, the electrical permit, plumbing permit if it's required. Okay? So there's a lot of, I call it redundancy. I like that we have this is actually what we can go to the old-fashioned way. We can actually add up all the invoices and we can actually look at T-sheets, reports. They could go in here to see how we did on that job. And then any profit loss QuickBooks document could go in here too. This gets done for larger jobs. Typically this does not get done for a job like a skylight or a window replacement. That just goes into a manila folder. But it's the same level of detail. Alright? It's just that it's an easier job. So that is a little thing on our production management. We could talk all day about production management. It's how we make the money. It's what the customer is buying from us. Right? The customer is not buying from us the marketing department. The customer is not buying from us good sales process, right? They're buying the home improvement. And so if we're organized and clear here, it makes a big difference what we install in the home and what they live with for years to come. And that's our highest calling. Remember that. Our highest calling is delivering fantastic home improvements that people get to enjoy for a lifetime. And we are blessed. We get to build those things for them. We don't have to build those things for them. We get to build those things for them. And this is one example of how we get to do a masterful job for them. This is one example. If we follow this, they're going to have a better experience with us. And they're going to say, what? Wow, these guys are professionals. And I love what they just did in my house. If we follow this, they're going to have a great experience with us. So, follow this system. Don't deviate from it. Once you've mastered it, then I would listen to ideas. Okay? But in the interim, meanwhile, follow the system. If you have any questions, my door is always open. Thanks so much.